Bienvenidos a mi podcast. Aquí hablamos sin cuentos, de negocios, de visión, de crecimiento y hasta de fracasos. Todo lo que nadie te dice cuando estás en el proceso de crecimiento en un ámbito de real estate. Yo soy Alejandro López, empresario, inversionista y obsesionado con una idea: que todos podemos cambiar nuestra vida si aprendemos a pensar diferente, tomar decisiones inteligentes, rodearte de la gente correcta y ser agradecido. Aquí vas a encontrar claridad, herramientas, historias, perspectivas que te ayuden a avanzar en tu negocio, en tu inversión y en tu mentalidad. Si quieres crecer, cuestionarte y elevar tu juego, estás en el lugar correcto. Respira profundo, porque aquí empieza tu siguiente nivel. Bueno, señores, hoy tremendo programa. Yo les he estado hablando de que es una realidad que podemos comprar nuestra casa sin tener que poner un down payment y sin tener que poner closing costs. Y ustedes, algunos de ustedes, bien pocos, pero me dijeron mentirosos. Hoy está aquí la directora del programa HPA con nosotros para que les cuente que sí se puede. Ella trabaja con el condado y él es Matthew y también trabajan con el condado para demostrarles que esto es una realidad. Mery les ha estado diciendo. ¿Cómo les dices, Mery?
Ay, si tú no sabes, tú no puedes. Hoy te vamos a enseñar cómo aprender y para que puedas.
Así que, Susan, bienvenida al programa para que nos ayudes a nosotros los latinos a cumplir el sueño.
Es the American Dream, el sueño americano. Comprar su primer casita o segunda casita, dependiendo de donde tú estás en tu vida.
Así que con ustedes vamos a tener a Susan explicándonos los números poco a poco y las cosas que se pueden hacer, las cosas que no se pueden hacer, porque no es fácil, ¿cierto? No es fácil, pero sí es posible hacer.
Todo es posible si aprendemos cómo hacerlo, ¿verdad,
y
Alejandro?
si armamos un buen equipo, como les he dicho siempre. Ellos tienen un grupo de preferred lenders que ya saben cómo funciona el programa. Esos preferred lenders, algunos de ellos ya están colaborando con nosotros. Ustedes nos contactan, nosotros vamos a pasar a hablar con Amado y con otro grupo de lenders que ya están trabajando con ellos y ellos van a facilitar para que ustedes puedan cumplir su sueño de comprar su casa. Aquí estamos para ayudarnos, para darnos una mano todos los latinos y para que podamos llegar al sueño de comprar nuestra casa. Así que, Susan, bienvenida al programa. ¿Y qué nos puedes decir hoy? Continuing with the conversation that we've been having about buying a house and how important it is for our Latino community to become ownerships. We've done a lot of hours of podcast with Mery, but today it's special. I think it's very special because a lot of people tell me, oh, you're lying. You know that? A lot of people are calling me a liar. I'm like, why are you calling me a liar? You don't think the county gives money away? I'm like, yeah. But you know what? Today, Miss Susan Weiss and Matthew, you're going to hear it from the source, right?
Yes.
From the
Experts.
Mouth of the
horse. De caballo.
Exactly. From the horse's mouth.
Boca de caballo?
Boca de caballo.
Boca de caballo. So with us today, we have Susan Wade and Matthew, that they both work for the county, and they work especially for the programs that help us, not only the Hispanic community, but as a matter of fact, anybody to be able to purchase a home. The county wants us to be home buyers. The county wants us, the government wants us to become homeowners because they know that a homeowner, it's a benefit to the county and to the country, right, Mery?
Yeah, but it's not only that. It's the American dream.
Right.
Who doesn't want to own a home? And knowing that you have assistance from our amazing county friends here, that's the beauty of it all, is the American dream can be had by many families and they may not know about this program. That's what this podcast is all about. That's why we bring the experts to you.
So with us, I would like Susan to introduce yourself first and then Matthew.
So my name is Suzanne Weiss, and I work with Broward County Housing and Urban Planning Department. I've known Nubia for 20 years, Nubia, and previously worked with a nonprofit and developers and builders. But as we've said, everybody wants home ownership. You put down roots, you stabilize neighborhoods, you own your piece of the American dream, and you build wealth with your family. The county and various cities have programs to promote home ownership, not only to get you into a home, but also when you're in the home. We'll talk about our home rehab program as well. So we want to make people aware of this because it's one of our most popular programs. Matthew McLennan here works in our division, and Matthew actually is one of the people that you and your lender will be working directly with Matthew to qualify for the program, to make sure that you meet the guidelines and to help make your transition and closing as smooth as possible.
So my name is Matthew McLennan. I work with Broward County's Housing and Urban Planning Division. I work under Suzanne Weiss's supervision, and my
Fabulous
job is basically just make sure that you, as the person who's purchasing the home, are educated educated on the process and under the process. One of the main goals that we have is getting you into the house and making sure it's sustainable.
Right.
So we don't want to put you in a house that puts you in a situation that's comfortable, but our goal is to keep you in that home. So with that being said, I have a little bit of experience with lending before I was here, so I was a mortgage lender. So I kind of know the whole process, but I'm able to help guide you. So
The reason I wanted you guys to be here is because I know it's hard for people to grasp the idea that the government, they think that the government is giving money away, which is not necessarily looking at it like that. But technically, at the end of the process, after the 15 years or whatever amount of time, you don't have to repay that money.
That is correct.
So for the owner of the home, that's money that they're giving you away, technically, right?
So
that's
to be fair,
Elaborate on that for
it's
us,
not
yeah.
free money. And you can't get into a house without putting your own skin in the game. So
Exactly.
just as many of our people and families know, I mean, you have to work very hard. You have to qualify. You have to groom your credit. You have to be available and ready to be a good borrower because you will be borrowing money from a first mortgage lender. You need to qualify for that first mortgage loan. You're going to be making monthly payments. But let's say you get approved for a $250,000, $300,000 mortgage. But what you're looking for is everything is $350,000. That's a gap of $50,000. That's where the county will come in and fill that gap. And most of the communities we serve, the second mortgage that we provide, it can be up to $80,000. And it's 0% interest, no monthly payments are due, but there is a 15-year mortgage. And at the end of 15 years, if you continue to live in the home as your primary residence, it's forgiven. Now, what happens before the 15 years? What if you sell the house?
Hold on a second.
Go
you
ahead.
just said something so amazing, and I want that elaborated a little bit more. So, if a family wants to put their roots down and they live in that property for 15 years, whatever the grant money or the second mortgage is goes away.
That is correct. It's
Oyeron
forgiven.
eso, 15 years.
Right.
And it is free money, but after 15 years.
Right.
you're
But
gonna have to say that in Spanish.
Yes. En 15 años.
15 años.
Dinero gratis.
Dinero gratis.
Ay, muy bien.
Sí, sí. But even before the 15 years,
That's awesome.
this helps you get into that house. You move, let's say you move to a different area or find a larger home and your income increases or something like that. You simply pay back that money to Broward County. You don't pay interest on it. You don't have any penalties. There's no prepayment issue. So you've gotten into the house. You then sell the house, let's say, after 7 years. All the profit that you could make on that house goes to you. You simply repay that. So imagine, I don't mean to say it, but a friendly uncle who gave you some money. And they said, we want you to buy a house. You're repaying the uncle. That's really what it is.
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam.
Que
And
sea
we-
tío Sam, hay que darle dinero,
And
pero
we
después de
re-roll
los
it.
15 años, no.
to the other cousin that's available that needs some
Exactly.
money to get into a house.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's an
Susan,
amazing
and
program.
as of right now, are there funds available?
Matthew?
So there are funds available. How it works is that each city has a funding pot, basically.
Okay.
So some cities are out of funds in those pots. So we're hoping to get those pots replenished. We kind of are delayed in that.
Where does that money come from? The federal
So
government?
Some of it is federal, some of it is state.
Okay.
So there's different funding sources that we basically put together to make the program run efficient.
Wonderful.
So right now we only have funds in Hollywood, Weston, and the city of Sunrise. But typically we have funds in 25 cities that we admit.
Wow.
And the funds have been allocated to us. But as a result of the shutdown of the federal government recently, there's been a delay in the release of those funds. We expect that those funds will probably be released within the next 30 days.
Oh, that's exciting.
and
Which
again,
means,
which
Which means
means-
people can start the process.
but wait, but that
See.
means all cities will have it.
Well,
when
about
that's
27
released,
That
or
we administer.
that we
only the
admit.
5 that you have?
No, no.
Or-
only-
They have
we have
25
25,
So
right.
The ones that we administer, we would be expecting money in the next
Right.
city.
Okay, that's
And
great.
this
So
is
bueno.
really, this program is very popular, and every single city in Broward County has down payment funds available or purchase assistance funds available. But whether you go to Broward County, we handle 24 cities plus unincorporated Broward. And there's other cities, the larger cities run their own program. So if somebody's interested in buying in that city, so let's say Pompano Beach, they run their own purchase assistance program. As we discuss this, their guidelines are very similar to ours. So it's where you're going to buy, not where you currently live. It's not where you work. It's where you're going to buy that you will determine who has the money. And you can call us. You can look at our website. You can go to the city's website. And again, same is true in Miami-Dade County and Palm Beach County, too. I cannot stress enough. If you go through this process, you qualify for first mortgage, you all need to take a class from a HUD-approved counseling agency. We'll talk about that. It's an 8-hour class. You get a certificate good for 1 year. It helps you understand all the steps to being a homeowner, grooming your credit. You do those 2 steps, you get yourself lined up. You probably, in the jurisdiction you're looking at, will be able to find funds to help you get your house.
I have a quick question. Is that HUD course available in Spanish or is it English only?
No, it is available in Spanish. There's a
Okay.
HUD website that will tell you in Broward County, those agencies that provide that class, they're online as well as in person, but I'll say Hispanic Unity of Florida is located on Johnson Street in Hollywood.
Okay.
They do phenomenal classes in person. They are thorough. It is a full curriculum. You really learn a lot, and we would recommend anybody who's looking to become a home buyer, whether they get purchase assistance or not, should be taking one of these classes.
So, Susan, in those cities, how much money is available, roughly per city?
So generally the cities we serve, smaller areas, smaller cities, Coconut Creek, Cooper City, Dania Beach, Hallandale Beach, up to $80,000 of purchase assistance. In Weston, up to $120,000 in
Per
purchase
family.
assistance.
And what's
Per transaction, yes.
what's the interest on that money?
0% interest. You
So
don't make.
you get that money and you pay 0 interest.
Well, the money goes to the title company. It
Correct.
goes to
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
closing agent. It does
Correct.
not go
At the
into the
time of
pocket of the
closing.
buyer, right?
Correct.
Because we do direct funding to the title company.
After the first mortgage has been a pre-qualified.
That is correct.
Or qualified. And at this point, it's already a qualified process.
Well, we want the deal cooked, if you will. The buyer is got a pre-approval from a lender. The lender really drives this bus. So we work with a wide variety of lenders. We have a list of what we call participating lenders that have done our transaction in the last
Preferred
2 years.
lenders, that's
Right.
it.
But again, we'll work with any lender who understands our program. The lender contacts Matthew or our other gal that works in our division, Irina Dater, and they write an email saying, I have a buyer, appears to be eligible for the program, wants to buy in Oakland Park. Please reserve funds. They get an email back. We have funds available. Get the address. So the buyer has to have a pre-approval from a lender. The buyer needs to have identified a property or a community that they want to buy in. They can't just say, I want to buy in Broward County, because as you hear, we have 24 cities, but some of the other cities run their own program. You have to know and identify the community, at which point then we reserve the funds in writing. And then within a week or two, that lender is giving us a package. Why don't you talk about what we're looking for from that lender?
So in terms of the lender, I think it's very important that buyers understand that the lender is really going to drive the trade. So the predominant interaction between us and the buyer is going to be through the lender. So one of the things people hear a lot, and a lot of home buyers kind of are tasked with, is, oh, how do I know if my lender is good or not? What if someone says they can get me a better interest? My advice, because we can't refer lenders, I always tell people you want to get with the most responsible, because if they haven't secured your business and they're not,
Correct.
once they secure your business, they're not going to magically become more.
Correct.
So if they're actively looking for you, even if they're not someone that has worked with our program before, if they're actively communicating with you, so you reach out on a Monday, they respond before the end of business Tuesday, that's perfect. If it's a situation where it takes them 3 or 4 days to respond, that's going to push your timeline.
That's why I know one of the lenders that I've been referring my audience to, it's Amado. which
Okay.
You
So-
know him very much.
Absolutely, yes.
And he's been already communicating with you guys and with Alina. Irina, right? And actually, we have 2 or 3 people already approved.
Good. Excellent.
So, the process works. It's the main reason that I want people to understand is this is not fake.
Right.
This is not a fairy tale. This
Right.
is not a
true.
catch me or a witch whatever it's
Correct.
real.
Right.
It's to take advantage.
Correct.
And we tend to complain about everything, about the whatever, but we never do. We never put actions into towards making things positive, right? So our intention with Mery here is to bring people over.
Right.
The process is not through me because I'm not a realtor, lender, whatever. Mery is involved in the closing because she's a closing agency, but I mean it's available. It's for people to take advantage of.
Correct.
It's not, you're not stealing the money. You're making a contract. You're making the community better. You're gonna pay taxes over the 15-year property taxes. You're gonna buy
Sure.
at the grocery store. You become an asset to the community, right?
Correct.
And that's the purpose of the program, correct?
Si tú no
Exactly that.
sabes, tú no puedes.
Exactly.
Si tú no sabes, tú no puedes. If you don't know how, you can't do it. And that's what we're trying to educate our public is you can do it. I have a couple of questions. How long does the process take? So two parts. Do you have to be under contract? Does my client have to be under contract or just at least say I want to be in Miramar?
Well,
Or
first of all,
Weston.
Miramar runs its own program, but they
Okay.
have to identify a property because we'll reserve the funds, and they do not have to be under a hard contract at that
Okay.
point. In fact, many sellers, we want the contract to be contingent upon their mortgage financing. Okay, what if
Pre-approved.
Pre-approved, but even when they type up the contract, you'll have what they call a FAR bar contract. And the realtor will make sure that it's contingent on them getting and qualifying for a mortgage, and hopefully there's an interest rate capped in there. But they should also say it's subject to them obtaining the Broward County funds. But let's say they want to buy in Dania Beach and they found 3 or 4 properties in Dania Beach. They are still negotiating with the seller. We will reserve the funds at that moment. And then we will actually write even a letter saying to the seller, who possibly is, I'm a little skitterish about this. How do you say skitterish in Spanish?
Miedoso.
Concerned.
More
Preocupado.
Preocupado.
Okay. So the
Preocupada.
seller's like, I don't know this program. We will actually write and say, yes, they've got reservation of funds, and we're working
That's
with the
what I was
lender.
going to go to because as an attorney,
Right.
when I start telling realtors what to write into contracts, everybody gets confused.
They don't want to know nothing.
They don't want to know what's an amendment. So you're saying, though, we should add to the contract subject to obtaining Broward funds.
Correct. Broward County Homebuyer Purchase Assistance Funds,
HPA.
HPA. And we
So
use
that
it.
should be part of the contract so the sellers are aware.
Correct. And again, and we'll even write a letter
important.
saying we've done the reservation of funds so they know that. And we're patient. We know that you're negotiating. That has to do a home inspection. You got to get the appraisal. You have to go through the other steps here too. We'll hold those funds aside because we don't want, just like you said, this is not a gotcha game. We don't want to go all the way to closing and then 2 days later, oh, we ran out of funds. Sorry. Good luck. Our job is not to lose the deposit for that buyer, and we know it goes hard at a point certain. So we are hanging. The funds are reserved. They'll do an income certification and qualification process when they get the package from the lender. But those funds are reserved on behalf of the buyer, and so the goal is to get it to the closing, go to the transaction.
So just another little question to that. Property's been identified. Realtor and buyer have added subject to obtaining the funds. Mm-hmm. You send a letter saying funds are reserved, and
That is
then
correct.
that letter is good for how long? I heard a year.
They do the home buyer education. Their certificate
The
from the home buyer
certificate's good for a
education is
year.
good for a year. If it takes a year to close a transaction, then we should all be out of our
Oh,
jobs.
gosh.
Okay, that's not.
Well,
we shouldn't be here.
absolutely.
No. Okay.
Like how long is the money held?
Same
So
thing
you-
as a first mortgage. That is
Correct,
usually
right.
90 days.
We would say that any contract should be at least a 60-day contingency
Well, it's
rate.
more. It's
time
not
frame.
about the contract
you're
so
saying
much. It's
about
about the
the
guarantee
turnaround
of the
time.
money.
Okay.
The guarantee of the money because I see deals
Okay.
left and right that get canceled by sellers and
So
all that. But I just want to know my buyer, our
Okay, so
buyers, how long are they?
You used the word
reserved?
guarantee that we are not going to use.
Okay, how
because
about reserved? then?
Reserved.
Okay.
So again, we're patient. If we have the funds, we are pulling them out of the pool, and we have those funds set aside. We have a list, and
for
we
the
pull the
person.
funds set aside.
For the person. So even
Right.
if there's a contract gets dropped, they still get to hold that reservation if they move to another one and they communicate and they're in constant.
That's what we want to know. And how long is that good for?
So when you're reserving funds, it's hard to answer your question directly because there's so many moving parts.
Sorry, it's the lawyer in me.
No,
That's
I
okay.
understand.
Yeah.
No, I understand. So to try to do that as best as I can.
Okay.
We will reserve funds depending on the availability for pretty much as long as a person needs if they're actively engaged in negotiating.
That's all I wanted to
So
hear.
if you're going back and forth and it's, we sent an addendum, we're going with contingencies and we're trying to figure out balancing it, we would not cancel that.
Right, it's an active negotiation.
Exactly. But
Okay.
once that kind of runs dry and it's a situation where, okay, the seller's not willing to play ball, at that point you would ideally, the lender would, hey, we're not going to go under contract on this one. And at that point we would cancel the
Correct.
relationship. And then if they find another property, they just would
Start
restart
over.
the whole process.
Correct.
Very good. Thank
Correct.
you.
That, in terms of the
That's very
reservation
clear.
hold,
We got it very
that
clear.
Would be it's it's more so once funds become a lot more limited, we now are looking at within a week we need an executed from the date of the. So we kind of have to expedite that time because at that point there's a bunch of people who are saying, hey, is there any changes in the funds available? So like right now with, for example, Coral Springs, there maybe is one person that's about to close with Coral Springs. God forbid that closing doesn't happen, then there's technically one spot of it. So now someone maybe, oh, is there any money in Coral Springs? So once we're in this position, we have to turn the file.
So what?
No pressure, Matthew.
But what the team does,
pressure.
again, we get calls every hour on the hour about our funds from lenders, from buyers, from anybody. But what they'll do is if they find that we've made a reservation and we talked to the buyer, the realtor, the lender 6 weeks ago and we haven't heard anything, they'll call and find out what's going on with this transaction. And they'll say, we're still active, here's this, we're waiting for the final clearance on some home inspection report. But if they say deal blew up, but he's looking at the other unit in this building, then we'll roll it over. We'll have, as Matthew said, we will have active engagement and communication. Years and years ago, the county has run this program for probably 45 years.
I was going to ask you, what's the history of this program?
Long time. And what they used to do is people would come in, they'd go through a class, they do this home buyer class, and then they'd get a letter saying, we've got up to $40,000. Good luck. Go get a loan and go find a property. And so they'd have 90 days to do all this stuff. Well, that's backwards. First of all, our funds were held up. And secondly, the buyers may not have been anywhere near credit worthy to go get a mortgage or anything like that. So now we do it the other way around. You've talked to a lender, you've gotten a pre-approval, you've gotten that clearance with the credit report or whatever it is. You've done that part of the work, buyer. You've identified the neighborhoods you want to be in, and then you come to Broward County at the last part. It's very successful. I would say probably 90% of our deals that come in as a reservation go to closing, wouldn't you say?
Probably more than.
That's amazing.
90 to 95.
That's great.
That's an A. That's an A grade.
That's
Wow.
an A grade.
Pretty consistent, especially. So one of the reasons it's hard to answer that initial question in terms of holding a reservation was because once we reserve funds, we don't know how long it's going to take the lender to send documents to us.
Right.
Because that's a very big issue. So once they get approved, we have to get the appraisal, the inspection, the contract, and then all the loans. So that process, sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes months. So once we're waiting on that, it's kind of hard to establish a timeline because, I mean, I can imagine you see it in your line of work. People don't always give you complete data.
That is
So
true.
now we're going back and forth waiting for documents.
It's a process.
So once that happens, it's kind of hard to put a timeline on it. So we say 4 to 5 weeks from receipt of a completed package, we'd be expecting you to be going.
Right.
So that's kind of the time frame that we work with.
I have a question. Let's say in $80,000 in Coconut Creek, right? That's up to $80,000.
Right.
On average, for a person that closes, who accesses the $80,000? Or usually they range on maybe up to $40,000 or, just so people can understand. It's up to 80, but most likely you're going to get 25,
Well, you get what you need. Okay.
Okay.
So it's called gap financing. So again, it helps people get to those higher. We live in a high cost community. There's no question at all.
Correct.
And in 2022, for years, the county not only provided $40,000 in purchase assistance in 22, and they realized we're missing the market. The market has just gone screaming off the chart. So they increased it to $80,000 for most communities we serve. Hollywood is $50,000, Sunrise is $40,000, Margate is $50,000, I believe. So the various cities set their rule, but generally the cities we serve, it's up to $80,000. However, if you've got a pre-approval for your first mortgage is $300,000, and the property you need is $320,000. The gap's $20,000. We'll do the $20,000. We'll do closing costs. If your interest rate is, and again, we can use our money to help buy down the interest rate to meet eligibility requirements. There's things that we have that close communication with the lender on. We have a debt to income ratio cap. We have a LTV, AMI. Okay, now let's talk about income too. So that's really kind of the what could blow up here.
What could blow up?
What could blow up? This is not available for people.
Explain to me the AMI like I'm in second grade.
Okay. Area median income. That is a standard set by the federal government and the state. It is to help deliver these funds to people who might not otherwise have an ability to get these funds. So 80% AMI, you will get purchase assistance in almost every city in Broward County and Miami-Dade County and Palma Palm Beach County. So 80% AMI is set by the actual income of the community in the previous year. And then there's a crazy logarithm or formula, and it's basically 80% of
Of your AMI.
area median income.
Area income is the salary,
No,
right?
income is salary. Income is
Whatever-
tip money. Income
Everything.
is Social Security for the household, not just the individual. So
La familia entera.
there's a chart which we can provide. So for an 80% AMI for one individual, you are a single person going to buy a house. Right now, that is the cap is $64,550 annually. That's all income that comes to you. So imagine you're just got out of college. You've just started your first job. You're making $60,000 a year. You would be eligible for the purchase assistance funds at 80% AMI. If it's a household of 4 individuals, so it could be 2 adults, 2 children, 1 adult, 3 kids, 4 adults. The household income at 4 is $92,200 annually. Gross annual income before taxes. Now, 120 AMI is the number that we love, but the federal funds don't go up to 120 AMI, okay? That's state funds and then the City of Hollywood's money. And we're hoping that Broward County very soon will do a special release of funds that can go up to 120. We don't have it yet. We're not talking about it, but it's something. But 120 brings you to a significantly higher number.
And you open the door to more people.
That
More
is correct.
families.
However, again, it's very limited funds. So 120 for that single individual, remember I said, would be $96,840. That single person, their income could go up that high. So they have to qualify for a first mortgage with that first mortgage lender. Their income's got to be high enough for that, credit score high enough, but not too high. Because if their gross household income exceeds that, they would not be eligible for our funds. $5 over. That's where we get hard stops, okay? People don't quite understand income. I just started a part-time job. That first mortgage lender with the part-time job doesn't want to know about it because it's not seasoned salary and wages. But we have to look at it. We have to see that, okay? Who's in a household? Everybody who will live in that house for more than 6 months of the year. So if you have people that are visiting for 4 months, they're visitors, that's fine. But if your parents are living with you or going to be living in the household, their income, even its retirement income, Social Security, that's part of the household income. So that's why we're going to be running a training for lenders too, so that they can be knowledgeable. Don't get people false sense of, you're going to get this money when you've got
Abuelo, abuela, tío, tío.
yeah,
and
which is
Latin
gr-
families, we all know
which
they
is
all
great.
live together.
Which is
so-
wonderful. We love it. It helps them
They-
get and qualify for that.
Right.
But also, you're thinking my wages are $60,000 or $65,000 a year, and I've got a household of 4, and I'm okay. But everybody's money coming together helps you make it sustainable. But it also might
Cut
knock you out.
They can knock you
Here's
out.
another thing too. This is not for you to move from a small house to a bigger house. You cannot have owned a residential
I was
property
about to
in the
ask you.
previous 3 years. If you owned a property 5 years ago, 4 years ago, that's fine. If you own vacant land, that's fine. But you cannot have owned a dwelling in the previous 3 years.
So you cannot be a homeowner
And the previous 3
now or within the last 3 years.
within
That
the
is
last
correct.
3.
Okay.
That is correct. Here's another thing. We don't care about credit score. If you can get the qualification from your first mortgage lender, good for you. Do we care
So
about?
there's no credit.
It's not,
Not
from
with
us.
them.
We don't
Wow.
look at all.
Con el banco, sí, but not with them.
Right,
With the
right.
bank, yes, but not with you.
The program can be combined only with FHA or conventional loans, or it can be any type of mortgage.
It has to be a fixed rate mortgage. We will not do adjustable rate mortgages.
Okay.
No reverse mortgages. We don't look. There's actually a cap. We have lender guidelines. Their rate can't be more than 2.5 points over the Fannie Mae 60-day delivery or something like that. I mean, we don't want the buyers getting into a predatory loan. The lender can't charge more than 2.5 points for closing. Right. So going to a loan shark and paying 10 points at closing, we're not doing the deal with you.
Yeah,
So,
that's terrible.
so again, our goal is to get people into a home with a sustainable loan with the lender that, 6 months from now, you're not going to find yourself in trouble. And I will say, again, the home buyer education process helps. And also going through our process gets people, they're not going into a loan that they're going to get in trouble about.
Condominiums qualify?
Go on it.
So we
Because, I just want to highlight, it's so hard to even get qualified for a loan. So if your income income is right there at the cap. You may not even qualify to get a home because the real estate, as we all know, has been overinflated.
Correct, right.
So to buy a home now, you're looking at 300,000-400,000.
Correct,
And most homes are selling for that.
Correct.
And if you don't have enough income, you won't even qualify for that first mortgage.
Correct.
So you
Right.
won't qualify for this either. So townhomes and condos
Absolutely.
can work.
Absolutely.
That
Right.
will allow more families to buy.
The only thing, sorry to go on, but the only thing we will not put financing on is a mobile home.
Okay, manufactured homes.
Manufactured, as long as they own the real estate underneath, and we can make a mortgage on that and have a
land.
legal description.
Okay.
We'll do that. But a mobile home that can roll out of the county and not with us.
Is there in the program? Is there a way that you can
Manufactured land.
do home repairs, or the home has to be?
Interesting that you asked that. That's an acquisition rehab
Yes,
program.
that's the other program. Yes.
I know.
Yeah, it's an exciting one, yeah.
Well, we have a standalone rehab program, and there's a 10-year mortgage on that. So and we can talk about that. But in fact, we just had a call today that we had to postpone because Palm Beach County does an acquisition rehab program together to buy the house, which we'd like to incorporate. Years ago, the county had it. They went and let it go dormant. So we'd like to resurrect that program because we find a lot of people, they want to do a re-roof and they can't. My children just bought a house in Coral Springs.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
my son and
exciting.
my daughter-in-law just bought a home, and they had to go under contract. They had to get the insurance. They had to re-roof the house. They had to put a $40,000 contract in place there. It would have been wonderful if there was an acquisition and that rehab program, which first of all we didn't have, but it's something we're working on. Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to just touch on before we jump
Okay.
into that. We don't have preferred lenders, so to speak. It's participating.
Participating.
Right.
in it.
So I
that's
know
important.
it seems like a small change,
It's-
but
yeah.
we can't recommend.
We can
anyone.
recommend, yeah.
And can anybody close?
Anyone can.
So I
And
can,
again,
as a
same thing
closing
with the closing
attorney.
attorney and
Okay.
title company. And in fact, have you done any closings with a purchase assistance program?
No,
She will.
not yet.
Let's work on it.
Yes,
Let's
let's
work
do
on
it.
it.
I would
will.
love that.
And one of the things is, again, we welcome anybody who will participate in the program. You would become a vendor with Broward County. So that it takes perhaps another week to 10 days to do, and we need to be mindful of that prior to closing.
Okay.
But we'll wire transfer directly to the title company or to the closing attorney. And again, they'll need a CD. They look at it. No cash out at closing, okay?
Makes sense.
We look at the math. We make sure that the lender's not charging too many points. Everything looks reasonable and feasible. And then we do actually, here's the dollar amount. It's $72,415.18. It wire transfers directly to the title company. We prepare the mortgage documents. They're wire transferred to you. You'll do the closing. There's closing instructions. Do the recording. We get the mortgage and promissory note. Both are recorded with Broward County.
Oh, the promissory note.
Promissory
too.
note,
That's
which is a
unusual.
bit of
Yeah.
unusual. Again, it helps us going forward to make sure that what was how did we
Nothing
do
gets
it?
lost that way.
Exactly.
I think it makes sense.
I know, but I know lenders don't like to do that because
Yeah.
it reveals what their interest
they're
rate and their
charging,
terms are.
what they're charging,
Since we're
yeah.
charging zero, we don't care.
Exactly.
But anyway, so again, it's very smooth, and so we welcome any new title companies that'll work with our program or
So
closing
I
agent.
have to do the vendor application then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's a lot smoother than it sounds.
Okay. Perfect.
They make it smooth.
From what I've done, from what I've heard from Amado, Mariluz, the lenders that we're trying to help our viewers, the conversation and the communication with the staff is like immediate.
Oh, they're unbelievable.
I mean, Amado is like, oh, let me talk to them, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's the government, But like, no, I just spoke with Alina, or I just spoke with somebody at the office, and they said that it's okay. I'm getting the approval now. I'm
Right.
like, wait, but we just started today in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, this is it's actually real.
It is real. Now, the income certification process
Correct.
is, again, the lender's made a reservation. My buyer looks like they're qualified. They want to buy in Dania Beach. The package comes in. The package comes from the lender. There's an application from the homeowner with tax returns and bank statements and most of the stuff they've given the lender. Irina and Matthew will look at this. We get third-party verifications, which are signed by the client. They sit down and talk to the client and make sure, hey, I didn't understand. Why is there $200 a month coming in here? What is this? What is this? That's income, unless it's passed through. My children are paying their grocery bill, and they live away, and we all share, as my family, we all share the phone bill together, right? So
Miran todos los kilos.
Yeah.
So tienen que cualificar con el número, que es el máximo por casa o por persona.
Right.
So eso es muy importante para el programa.
Right.
Claro.
And one of the big things we always tell people, and again, they'll learn this in the homebuyer class. If you, what is that game, people, of the play where they give
Shop
money?
around
Yeah,
with the
no,
lenders, or-
no, shop around.
Like the partner game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Keep your bank accounts simple. Have the money come in.
La cuenta de banco simple, mi gente.
Do not be
Dinero
the bank.
adentro, dinero afuera. No le
Sí.
tira mucho dinero.
Yeah.
Bobería te puede costar el programa.
For at least 6 months. Clean it up.
6
Just
meses.
keep it out, because then you suddenly have to say,
That's
oh,
important,
here's cash
Alejandro.
coming in, and where is it going? Clean your account. We see you're making FP&L payments, or here's a car payment.
Yes.
Perfect. And your deposit of your income or your wages are going into your account. But suddenly you're getting cash and you're playing, I'm getting Christmas presents and I'm buying for everybody in North America. It's going to make it a mess. Keep it simple.
So 6 meses la cuenta limpia. Alejandro.
Mantener la cuenta en orden por 6 meses. Volvemos al tema. Orden, disciplina y constancia. Así es como se logra crecer en este país. Pero las oportunidades están ahí. Aquí está la directora Susan. Aquí está Matthew. Ellos son los que deciden, de acuerdo al programa y a los papeles y a la documentación y a la reglamentación. Y sí, no es fácil, es un poco complicado.
Sí.
Pero que te den $50,000 para que tú cierres la casa,
Uf.
que en 15 años no tienes que devolver, yo creo que vale la pena hacer el sacrificio.
Excelente. Y
Así
lo
que-
más importante es que si tú estás interesado en este programa, como abogada y Alejandro con el equipo que tenemos, podemos revisar tus documentos, porque como ella está diciendo, los 6 meses de tu cuenta de banco tiene que estar muy limpio. No puede haber dinero entrando de regalo, como ella estaba diciendo, tiene que ser muy limpio porque te van a cualificar con ese número. So, antes de someter algo, preferimos que habla con nosotros, toma la consulta. Como te dijimos, la consulta siempre es gratis con la doctora Mery López, Palma, y con Alejandro. Aquí estamos para ayudarlo y cualificarlo para el programa. Eso es lo más importante, que tenga tu sueño americano, latino.
Así es. Así que, well, Matthew, Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for informing our audience. Thank you for taking the time. I know you guys are super busy.
Yes.
I would like to do that. Be super busy giving money away. One day.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing. It's
So
a blessing.
who do we report to? Do you report to the commissioners, the mayor? Is this a Broward at large? I was just curious, like where?
Yes, and yes.
Okay.
And yes.
And yes to everybody.
Well,
So is this the city commission?
No, it's, well, yes, we do report to the various cities because they
Okay.
want to know how their monies are being deployed. And yes, so we'll say we close, like Sunrise, we've closed 8 clients with your home money, and it's federal home money, and here's their names. And it is a sense of achievement. We've helped 8 new people buy in the city of Sunrise in the last year. There's reporting requirements. We have to use the funds. There's annual reports. So you puffed us a little bit. You said that we monitor all the funds. There's an annual report.
Correct,
There's a
yeah.
projection of what we're going to do. The commission has to say, yes, we have these federal funds, and we're going to use this for this program.
Okay.
So
They
we-
allocate it to you.
Actually, yes, they do.
Yes,
So they
okay.
approve and allocate it every year, and then at the end of the year, we have to report what we've done. So there's compliance requirements that
If it's not used, does it roll over?
correct. But there's
That's a good
there's
thing.
some state funds. You have 3 years to fully expend it. The federal funds, home money is 5 years. But and again. Then the money comes back in. Let's say somebody's paid off some money. They've sold a house and they pay it. We have to use that. It's called program income. We have to use that first. So there's a very robust fiscal department doing
Wow.
accounting.
Because that comes back into the budget.
And it has to be used first.
Before we spend other money.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Couple bottlenecks
Well,
there.
our mission here with Mery is to
Help
help
to
you
spend
guys
money.
is to help you guys spend the money.
Yes.
And
Thank
to
you.
bring people over and to we've talked a lot about, I think that becoming wealthy, if you want to call it, comes through ownership of your business and of your home. So that's why we're trying to communicate that. Since
Right.
we met at the
Right.
conference, I was like, wait, what? This is something that I gotta explode.
and so interesting because Nuvia set that up, and we're in Weston. That was in November, correct?
That was in November last year.
And it's a city commissioner from Weston who was not aware, even though we do funding for both our home repair program and the purchase assistance in in Weston. He was not aware of all the details about the program, even the elected officials. So it is some of the best kept secret of Broward County.
And we're sharing it.
Yeah, way to go.
So-
and thank you for letting us share it.
Well, it's been a pleasure
Yes,
having
thank
you
you.
guys over. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And hopefully we do a part 2. Maybe with one of the lenders, or maybe even with somebody that actually closed one of the properties.
I would think that would be a good
That
if
would
we
be-
have,
They
and
could share a
really
testimonial.
and explain, and maybe we'll close with you, and then we can have it all here together.
Exactly.
How's that?
That would be great, yeah.
Next time.
Exactly. So thank you
If you
so
want.
much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time.
A pleasure.
Hope you guys felt comfortable, and
Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you.
Así que mi gente, muchas gracias por escuchar. Pónganse atención a trabajar, disciplina, esfuerzo, constancia, y las cosas sí se pueden, ¿verdad, Mery?
Sí se puede siempre. Si uno no sabe, no puede. Solo estamos enseñando cómo hacerlo.
Así que seguimos. ¿Por qué, Fran?
Porque hasta el cielo y más allá.